Okay, we're back with another week with Unreal development, Unreal game production, that kind of stuff. And this week we've got plenty of stuff to talk about, but also it's going to be quite a technical week this week. I've got lots of complicated problems to solve this week with Python and getting the NXT stuff working, which I was doing a little bit R&D before this meeting, but then I got taken away doing other stuff. So this week is going to involve probably a lot of trial and error. But before we get into the hard, boring stuff, we're gonna have some fun using the MetaHumans that just got released this week from Unreal, which is, I mean, you just can't deny that it's entertaining to play with. And there's a lot of things interesting that I want to explore on that front as well, just to see what exactly it is that is in this new package that came out, and what we can do with it. I know I can get it working with my iPad for doing live linking, so that we can just play around with a little bit, and it's going to put to shame anything that I'm ever going to make with live linking. But it's good. It's good to raise that bar, really force you to focus on that stuff. And so, oh, we're already getting some questions here. Excellent. Let me just jump. Oh, I'm gonna answer the question. Hello, could you please tell me, Gloria? Hello, welcome. Could you please tell me where I can send a few questions for my son's project for school? He would like to attend CG Spectrum when he graduates. All right, send some questions right here. Unless you think that they're like, are they like review questions? Maybe that's why. But in my opinion, I'm happy to answer them. And what type of subject are we talking about? Because if they're like concept art questions, then maybe I'm not the right person to ask. But if they're related to game production, animation, rigging, modeling, there's quite a few things I can cover, but also some that I cannot. And also, if you wanted to give you a more complete answer here, just hello@cgspectrum.com, or no, it's actually well, maybe it's .com, but usually it's cgspectrum.au or edu.au. Is geez, did I make that very clear? Maybe I can write that down here. Oh wait, I haven't even set up my chat yet. I was reading the chat from only one spot. All right, here we go. we go. Got yourself an email address there. Gloria says he has an interview. He has to interview someone that's in the video game programmer field. Oh, okay. We're talking about video game programming. He has to interview someone? Is that one of his like project assignments? Oh, okay. I missed a point here too. It's for video programming. Okay, so we don't have a stream for video programming yet, even though that is a department that's growing pretty quickly for our school. So we're definitely, you know, there's a possibility that we may one day have one. Although I must admit it's not nearly as spectacular to work on a stream than it is like doing what I'm doing right now. Yes, it's part of it. How about design? Okay, so we also have another department for game design, which is completely separate. And we do have a stream for game design. Troy does a stream Tuesdays at 6 p.m. Eastern Standard Time. And he is always looking for people to ask questions so that he can answer them. Very, very knowledgeable in the industry, has a huge experience. So you could give him some solid questions and expect like a nice, well thought out, verbose answer. So yeah, he's an excellent resource to rely on if you're looking for game design. And I'm more of a technical art, game production stuff, so I'm on more of the art side. But anyway, so he has to interview someone. Oh my goodness, that's an interesting point. All right, glad to be helpful. I mean, I try. Jules King has said, MetaHumans looks amazing from the video that was released. Yes, it is just as amazing in these videos as it is in real time in Unreal, which is like, I've never had a moment in my industry experience where it's been like, what? Photo real in real time? And you're like, it's working on my computer? Me and everybody else has been really blown away by just what you can do in real time nowadays. And this is amazing because it's not only available, I mean, it's not only amazing to look at, but it's free. Like, you just download it. It's free on a free Unreal Engine with free resources. Let me just actually get to that point where I'm getting it from here so we can keep that clear. Let me also get back to my restream here. So if you want to download it, well, I mean, it's right here as well, but you go to learn on the Unreal section. That's just down here. You can download it from here. So it's like part of the, it's not even part of the marketplace. It's like part of their learning educational stuff. And the audio that he says during the audio that the two actors say when they're doing their thing explains some really cool stuff about the whole amazing thing about this product. So let's open up the project, since I was supposed to do that already. This thing open. So I've already downloaded, installed it, taken a look at it, and sort of explored a fair bit of it, and it's very cool. They only give you the two characters, that one and the other guy, and but apparently you can bring in all sorts of different people, and they have all sorts of different ways to make people look old and young, and you can modify their faces using just like interactive controls and change the way they look. So you can have your own unique character. They have a bunch of different hairstyles that you can pop on there, and they're all using the new hair system, so you're getting some beautiful hair content that's all running in real time, which is like, what? So good. Because we've seen some photorealistic characters from Unreal before. They had it was a few years ago. They had, like, you know, doing a lot of R&D about how to do photoreal, but now the difference is they've actually got it so that they're all rigged and you can work with.
MetaHumans are high-fidelity digital characters created by you, the user, on our new content creation platform,
that's
MetaHuman Creator. I am fully rigged.
So what they're saying is like so helpful for everything that we want to know.
Allowing you to work in context.
I have not figured out how to do the rig.
Running live in Unreal Engine, my motion works seamlessly
on other characters. I have 8 levels of detail and have been tested on a wide range of hardware platforms.
So 8 levels of detail, which is something that I didn't really pick up at first, but that just means like there's all these LODs. So as you back away from these meshes, you can actually see that they, let's put it in like wireframe here. You can see that like the quality of the geometry starts to change as you back up. So there's 8 levels of detail, so that if your processing can't handle the level of detail required, they can, you know, tone it down, bring it down to a level that is much easier on the processor, which is really handy, obviously. And cool to see that a fully rigged character has these LODs.
If you're interested,
so he's like talking about how you can make it work on mobile and stuff. Oh, we got Dave here, Big Labagoo. Do you think you can use those in your real-time animation using your iPad? Yes, I am going to do that in a minute. I've already tested it, and it makes everything I'm ever going to do with live linking look like terrible junk. It's like, it's just not fair. I mean, the bar has risen so high. Sarah's here. Hey, Simon. Hey, fellow creative people.
In learning about my animation rig or high-fidelity deformations, built on Control Rig. The new strand-based hair system via the Groom component.
So there's the hair, which is absolutely fantastic. Like all these little eyelashes and everything are all, you know, individual hair strands. What do we got here? I gotta slow this camera down a bit. So, like, it's just really nice quality geometry and mesh and like things that take a long time to do, and
then have a look
using technology like the hair that just came out in a couple versions ago. And you know, I honestly haven't seen a hair groom that looks this good in Unreal before, so it really done a nice job on just getting that to look really nice.
Could in this project. This is just a glimpse of things to come.
So anyways, the full version of it is not released. There's a way that you can get it so that you can modify the characters and make them your own. So maybe that's not going to be free. Maybe you have to pay for that. But like, this is pretty neat what they got here. Apparently these shoelaces are also dynamic, so they're like swinging around, which is kind of fun. George, greetings from Peru. All right, welcome from Peru. Very nice. So it's a lot of fun. Let's do the other fun thing. Let's do the iPad thing, which is they've actually. It's funny because we were just talking about how to do the iPad live linking, where we get the faces to work, and then this week all of a sudden this came as a huge surprise, and they've already set it up for all this live linking stuff, so we can like immediately go in there and go, how did they do this differently, and you know, what are they doing to make it work? So it's very interesting. Now I gotta find the characters here. Where are they? Where's the mesh? Oh, here it is. So we got this mesh. So this is the skeletal mesh. It's just the head part. They have the body part as a separate mesh that matches skeletons. You can see all these crazy blend shapes. This is like the biggest, hugest list of blend shapes I've ever seen. And if you take a look at how many joints they have, it's just like kind of ridiculous. So I've never worked with a character with this many joints before, and it's kind of neat to see where they've placed all the joints. I mean, it's so hard to tell, but the fact that they've got them all in the back of the head and stuff, it's like, what are they doing? Why does that really, that part of the head move that much? A really interesting attention to detail. In fact, even just the ears, like the ears are all rigged up so that they move. And in some of the morphs or some of the face poses, the ears really are moving around. So I still don't quite fully understand the method that how this is like, whether these are morphs that are controlling the facial stuff. Like, I've never really seen these morphs actually work, but if we jump over, we'll see some more stuff. Jules King, having just done some basic rigging, this just freaks me out. That's a great comment. and trying to learn hair in Maya with XGen, etc. Oh my goodness, I totally sympathize with you, totally. So this will kill off that requirement. I learned it. I think it. I mean, realistically, rigging and XGen. I mean, those are really hard things to do, and you get. It's very frustrating because you get terrible results for very, very easy. It's so like so many dead ends. However, XGen is how you can still create the groom that you're going to import into Unreal and have the final result. So it's by no means a wasted effort, but yeah, if you're feeling overwhelmed by how awesome this looks, join the club because it's just phenomenally well done assets. Like, you know, definitely done by the best of the best in the industry. Sarah says, that's crazier than the gum tree full of galas? I'm not pronouncing that right, am I? I don't even know what you're saying. I'm not sure what that means. Here's the morphs that happens. Look, check this out. This is neat. This is an animation of morphs. This is the same problem I'm having with my character, where I have an animation of morphs. I have no idea if this is a step of how they built the morphs, or whether this is I don't know, like a feature that they've added to make it happen. But I am very interested to see how do we get this animation to convert into this list of morphs. This was exactly the same question I was asking last week to figure out how to do this. And so I feel like we're pretty close to something that's cool. There's a lot of expression morphs that are being used here, and I don't know what they do or how they work, so I could be misunderstanding the concept of what this animation is doing. I'm not sure. Either way, we're still looking into it. Sarah says, it's a noisy Aussie bird. Oh, okay, there you go. Thank you for informing me on that one. Crazier. Yeah, now I get it. Crazier than a gum tree full of these crazy loud birds. So when we scrub this animation, we see that there's some really nice targets in here. These are all the exact same targets we were working on last week. It's the same thing. And let me just, I don't know if this music is really loud or if it's just my headphones are really loud. It's just my headphones. So it's the same thing that we were dealing with last week, making all these targets, but look how awesome these targets are. These are like the coolest looking face targets. They're just such a range of flesh moving pieces. Like you can really see that, you know, if these, let's see if this is joint based. We'll find out right now. Put all these joints on. Look at that, it is joint based. So if they were all morph targets, those joints would not be moving, but they are moving. So it seems as though the direction I was going with the other character is the same path that these guys took. So not too far off, but look at those crazy joints. Like this is a joint with lots of joints. What does that mean? It's so weird. Like, are these little joints moving from its parent joint? Are they adjusting? Like, I wonder if this is some sort of automated process of like how they're capturing the movement. They're just following verts on the mesh, and then they're using these other joints to like store the position of those verts. I don't know. Could be. George says, "Sorry, I'm new to game design. I know by you are using Unreal Engine, but I don't know what is MetaHumans. Please explain a little bit." Oh, okay. Well, I'll gladly recap that one. Recently joined the Direct. Broken brain. I'm not sure what Sarah's referring to there. All right, let me jump back to the jump back to the website here. So this got released. Was it yesterday? I think it was yesterday. It just kind of showed up in my email. It was like, hey, we got this thing called MetaHumans, and I'm like, what? That looks really good. What does that mean? And then I go and check Slack, and it's like 3 people have posted this on different channels, going, what is this crazy stuff? And then there was like Twitch streams that were like, this guy's going, what is this crazy stuff? So it got like from just a subtle email to like, whoa, this is like a huge thing. But you might recognize some of these characters from before. They were doing these as like GDC updates and stuff. 2017 OSC graph, I guess. And so they were kind of showing that there's the possibility of doing real-time facial capturing and working away towards this, photorealistic, reducing the uncanny valley. And they've all kind of been pretty close, but you're never really sure what the technology was of how they did it. And like, it just always seemed such a big gap between what they were able to do and what we were able to do. So the fact that they've kind of like given you the access to this technology in a way that you can actually work with it is really cool. And then also, like, it's one thing to have a photorealistic mesh that's in your Unreal Engine, but it's another to have it animate and move in a way that looks so photoreal that it's never happened before. Like, the industry has never seen such quality and have such easy access to it, like where it literally is free. You can just download it and work with it. It's very, very interesting where it's going. So MetaHumans is, I think it's going to be something like a software thing where you get the ability to create your own characters, or at least customize your own characters so that you have your own looking character. I won't be surprised if that becomes like a cost barrier, so that you purchase your own custom thing. But they all work on the same rigs and they all animate or share the same animations. So if you have motion capture and you have facial stuff, capture stuff, then you can just get it to work on whatever your custom character is. You don't need any like crazy rigging skills. Now, I bet you everybody's question is like, well, does that mean riggers' jobs are irrelevant? And does that mean modelers' jobs are irrelevant? And everyone else who's involved in that pipeline? I think the answer to this always is no, of course not. There's always going to be unique things that need to be created, and there's always work in various directions. The same thing happened like just recently with Quixel assets. We had released all these photo scans that were free. Everybody could just download 14,000 assets for free. But I mean, it's not like the modelers have all become unemployed or anything. It's just it becomes saturated in the market. Now, if you want something that's photoreal rock, you don't ask a modeler to do it. You just get it for free. And then the modeler is now going to be focused on something that isn't oversaturated in the market, because as soon as it's oversaturated, people want to be like, well, I don't want to make something that there's a million copies of. I want to make something that's going to make it unique and stand out. So now you need a modeler to make this object that doesn't exist in the real world and do like things that move on. So, and then you need a rigger and you need all the same people. But we're going to be able to like learn from how these guys did it now, which is very cool. Because like right now I'm looking at this going, what? And trying to figure out what exactly it is that they did and how they got this result. And it really raises the bar of quality overall for the whole industry. So I think it's always a positive thing. This happens all the time. Motion capture came out for animators, and animators were like, is this the end of our jobs? And it wasn't. And that was like, 10, 15 years ago. So anyways, so it's kind of cool to see these are joints. Let's try to keep going with this whole like getting this to work on my face, which is part of the whole live linking process. So I'm going to turn this off. Whoops, I'm turning it in the mesh off. That's counterproductive. Joints selected only. George says, thanks a lot and sorry for my English. It's okay. You got it across. It worked. And Sarah was referring to when she said broken brain. That was the amounts of joints in the rig is breaking my brain. Yeah, I've never seen a rig with this many joints before either. And what is it? Does it tell us what the joint count is? No, it doesn't. But anyway, it's just insane. I guess if we went like the skeleton or something, we'd be like, what the? But it goes to show that, with the new computers, they can handle a lot more than we used to be able to. I don't really understand how this is mobile compatible and you have that many joints. Like, I feel like that, like, when they talk about LODing, are they also LODing the joint count and all that kind of stuff? I mean, maybe. It's possible. I just don't know if that's actually part of the equation. Anywho, we'll move over to the animation blueprint, where all the live linking support is set up and the kind of stuff we were looking at last week. Live linking is actually way easier to do than it seems. The biggest problem we had trying to get our live linking working was that my iPad was not wanting to talk to the network, and that was because of a security feature that I just had to restart my iPad, and then it asked me, do you want to talk to the network? And I was like, yeah, and then everything worked. So there's some plugins you got to install. I mean, if you look at our previous streams, you'll see how this works more carefully, but the plugins are free to get. There's no cost involved here. I'm trying to show you where the plugin is. So plugins, you just make sure that they're installed, because by default they're turned off, and then you can turn on Live Link, and then you run a free app called Live Link Face, which is only available on oh geez, it's already working. That was easy. What was I gonna say? It's only available on Apple. So this whole like technology for faceware is only available on the last 2 versions of Apple or something like that. So last time I did this, there was a calibration issue, and I did it again, and now there's a calibration issue. So let me see if I can turn it off or something and start from a square one. Ah, shoot, it's still calibrated. We did actually get a test where it wasn't not calibrated incorrectly. But I've already. What's a little interesting is these are actually set slightly off, slightly differently than the way that I was used to having it set up. So when I was first looking for like, where's that pull down list? It's actually in the editor as custom default variables that have been exposed. So don't quite fully understand how that works yet. Like, I think they're just these guys. These are just the values that we're switching. So here was our list of what iPad to pick, and then I can also turn on the head rotation, so you can get that piece as well. And they have some jaw open offset alphas, I think, or something. I'm not sure if you ever need to use that. But anyway, I think my biggest problem right now is I need to calibrate it because it's not calibrated right. Yes, this is definitely freaky. Hold on, I'm too distracted to remember what I'm doing here. Let me just close the animation blueprint, and then I'm going to be default. Okay, there. Let's see if that ends up with a better result. No, it's not calibrated again. Maybe it is. Maybe it's just... I don't know. It was getting better result with my kids. Of course I had to play with this with my kids. The head does kind of work. Oh, and you can switch players too. Switch meshes. Just up here you can change the preview mesh, so it can be this other guy. I must admit the there we go. I gotta make sure I keep it in the center here. Alright, let's see if there's anything here I'm missing. JD Smith, always knew you would make a beautiful woman. Oh, that's nice of you. Yes. You can't be ugly in this app. But of course I do look kind of creepy with a bald guy now, so maybe I take that comment back. Oh, and I think what's really nice is these like eyebrows. Like you can definitely see these eyebrows are being exposed. And I know when we did this before, oh, we can't do one eyebrow or the other. But when we did this at Rocksteady, it was all based on normal maps that got triggered. So I wouldn't be surprised if that's sort of the same idea. Man, we're not getting very good results here. Let me try this a little more carefully. We get the eyebrows up, but we don't get the cheeks up. I guess you get a little bit. And there's like a little bit of normal mats right here on the nose as well, which is kind of cool. You notice the ears are moving? I mean, it's very subtle. You can't really tell. But there is when you move the mouth. It's easier to show in a morph target, but they are actually moving the ears and stuff. Let's go back to the other mesh for a second here. Yeah, we're getting different types of normal maps for the eyebrows, and I'm not sure if that's like. It really makes you wonder how they're exactly doing that. Like, is that from a 3D scan that they're pulling that information from, or is this like, how can you make it so that you can customize characters? It must be all from like a different character base they're starting with. Yeah, because they definitely feel like they're unique eyebrow wrinkles. Yeah, for sure. There's like 4 or 5 rolls there. But yeah, it's not calibrated very well to my face, unfortunately. And I'm not sure how you fix that. So that may be one of the challenges that we have to deal with when we start doing our own character, is like, how do you get it so that results that you're actually getting are true, like starting from a really nice clean base, and like, is there a way that you can like tweak some sliders and make it so that this is your base, so that it just keeps running from that? Sarah says, my mind is blown. That's very cool. Yesterday I was saying the same thing. George, and you saw what happens if you cock one eye up with your half in bug appears? What? Cover? Oh, cover one eye up. A bug appears? I noticed that I couldn't actually get it to do a single eyebrow, like if I'm trying to do one. It just keeps their eyes together, actually, even though I can technically wink. It doesn't know where my eye is, but it just is like, oh yeah, it's just the same eye. Maybe that was some sort of intelligent reaction to that. Oh yeah, they have the cheeks blown out. That works really well. I don't even know. I mean, I guess that's pretty easy. Actually, if you look at how the bottom jaw is not actually hitting the S's, that's one of the common problems we ran into, but I mean, that's probably just because it's not calibrated right. Maybe that's what this open jaw alpha is for. Oh yeah, but it does it the wrong way. See, why can't I make that value go inverse? That's what it needs, is some sort of like, you can reverse the calibration. There's this jaw open alpha. We just say that the slider range can go negative. Alright, let's try that. Hey, look at that, it's more calibrated now. I don't know, I didn't actually do anything yet, I'm just looking. Ah, it doesn't work. My negative slider doesn't work. I was like, I got it. I got this figured out. I'm gonna solve this problem. It's more complicated than that. Oh, Kirsty's here. Hey Simon, hope you are well. I am well. Hope you're well too. Would they use this and then still final polish it up with some hand animation? Yeah, so I think if I was like, definitely the results in this is not perfect. I mean, we're getting, I would say, like subpar quality. It's more the facial targets and the facial character and the rig is done amazingly, is why we're getting at least fairly decent results. The actual capture quality, I think, is not good enough. Like, we're just not capturing the T's and the P's and blah, blah, blah. We're not getting the dialogue in there. Which is, I don't know, I'd like to see if that's possible to fix, rather than just write it off as being the technology's not there. But what I would do to take what I just did is I would record it and as a capture, and then have animation data that's baked on the joints, and then have to clean it up from there. I'm pretty sure they have this cool rig. Pretty sure that's kind of the tool set that you'd be able to work with to save you from having to sort of really think about how you do it. So you would have the motion driving in the back, and then you'd be able to animate on top of the motion and sort of make corrections and fix things. So particularly the one thing that's important to fix is getting the T's and the S's to hit, because we've always had this problem with motion capture where the jaw you can't capture the jaw because it slides underneath your skin. So it's really hard to hit those T's and S's through a capture. And so the animator usually has to go in there and just fix it and make sure it works. Because sometimes you can do the same movement and you don't want to put your teeth together. And the face, if you do a side-by-side comparison, looks exactly the same. So it depends on whether the jaw needs to be up or down. So that's something that definitely needs to be involved. Obviously, the better to capture, the less hands-on labor you have to do to capture it, to fix it. And then the body motion. Oh, look at that. It just went into T-pose. And then the body motion, or A-pose, I guess, would have to be done through a motion capture of some sort as well, which is separate. So I don't even think that head bobbing movement that I'm getting from the capture is all that good either. It's a little too shaky. And that would cause, that subtle noise, even though it seems harmless, is actually a big pain in the butt to clean, unless you have a nice filter system. But then it starts to look floaty, so it's kind of a weird. You got to filter it in a way that doesn't make it floaty, but still gets rid of that shaking. It's much easier to work with capturing data that is nice and clean and really good quality, so you don't have to even touch it or mess with it. So I mean, maybe the reason why that checkbox for capturing head movement is turned off by default is just because, it's not really necessarily something you want to use in your full capture. And if we take a look at like how this is set up, it's definitely a different sort of layout than what we were working with last week. Not necessarily in a more complex way, just in a different sort of layout. And the comparison we were looking at was the Kite Boy, which was done a few versions ago. And so I would say this is much more better reference to cover now for optimal workflows, because they've probably learned from a lot of mistakes and fixed a few things since that older version. It's getting the curve of the mouth open and open jaw. Is this supposed to be the actual variable? No, those are just the curves from the actual mesh. Safe drive. That's a function. This function returns 0 if b, the denominator, is 0. Oh, look at that. That must be the failsafe that's going on. Stopping the mouth open and the jaw open from happening. Which I remember when I was doing the targets, I couldn't understand how they were getting that they were going to get that to work. I don't still fully understand how that's going to work, but we'll just take a look at what I'm talking about anyways and see if that's there it is. So we got jaw open, and then we have mouth closed, jaw open. But if you accidentally had jaw open and mouth closed open playing at the same time, your jaw would actually be double transforming. So that would end up with a terrible looking result. I wonder if this is making sure that you're only getting an output that is going to keep it within a balanced range. And I think when we looked at the Kite Boy character, they handled that differently. Like they just did the target differently. Or maybe I'm confusing it with something else. And then they're clamping it to make sure that it can't go beyond 1 or 0, so that you actually input correct values. And this is mouth lips together, T, down, left, to right, down. What does this mean? Control expressions, mouth lips. These must be some curves. Control expressions, mouth lips. not here. Must be part of this. No, I don't know where that's coming from. What was it called again? Maybe that's just custom values. Let me just take a look. This is pin. I don't know. I'm not sure what that is. I don't know. It could be like a joint. I don't know what that is. Too many millions of things to work with here. Oh, I just want to jump over to the skeleton and see if we can find that matching name. So anyway, those are sort of the fun things you can do with this. I wonder if there's anything else I'm missing. But I mean, the cinematic is pretty cool to look at too. And I was going to talk about how to do Python scripting for Unreal to separate out that layer of that animation of sets of 5, which I haven't done the Python scripting before, and I was trying to do some R&D before the stream so that I could just kind of have something to work with. And I got through the document, but then I got pulled away for another emergency situation, I guess. So I didn't actually get to getting far enough along that I was hoping to do. So so we're gonna do a lot of experimenting. Oh, here they are. Control. There we go. Those are targets. See, these are not joint based. Let me just see if that's true or not. I'll do a little proof. Put on the hierarchy. Oh, they are joint based. So how does that connect? Oh, they're not morph targets. This is what I gotta figure out how are they doing this? I wanna do this. I wanna make it so that I have sliders with names and they move joints. Yeah, that's what I wanna do. Anyway, so I found the mystery of where these things are. I don't know why I didn't find it before, but I guess that's didn't look carefully enough. So mouth expression, mouth lips together is one of the one of these guys, I assume. Except for I can't actually find it now. Oh wait, here it is. Oh my god. Just too many things here. Doesn't matter. So anyway, these are actually doing stuff. They're moving the character around. It's possible that, you know, whatever it's doing to reduce the... So when it is actually using this, it's just like either muting or changing or something. Anyways, we'll just keep moving along because that's getting too dry. Cache pose. Oh yeah, cache poses. That's kind of cool. Where are we getting the original pose from? Use cached pose. Body pose. Copy pose from mesh. There's our body pose. We're using it over there. So it's creating the cache, which is just basically a state, the current state that that frame of animation is in. I don't know what this is about. Copy pose from mesh. And what do we got here? We got teeth editing poses. Teeth editing poses. Roll jaw, alpha, teeth show alpha. Ooh, that might be interesting to learn about. They're all set to 1 though. Maybe this is what I'm supposed to modify in order to get it to look correct. I don't know. We're doing the body pose again, using the cache to blend it into the modifications that have happened here. And then we go to component, which is using the AR kit head rotation. Oh, we're applying the head rotation to, I think this is something we did last week, to certain joint names. for assigning it. Although this seems to be going directly, the rotation is matching accurately. We have to do a little switcheroo. Enabled live linking head face. And then we convert it back to local so we can put it back to the output pose, which is the result we end up seeing at the end. So, yay. Let's turn off that. Let's jump to... Oh, I know what I wanted to do. I wanted to figure out how to do this control rig over here and see if this is something you can control or whether it's just a visual demonstration of what it will look like. It's probably... It says it's using control rig, which I assume is using the control rig that Unreal has supported as of just recently, which, by the way, is super amazing. And if that is true, then I am very, very interested to know more about that, but I just don't know. It could just be like their own custom proprietary thing that you can't mess with. I don't really know. Let's see if we can dig a little deeper and find if we can find anything here. Hair strands, get material. Got hair, torso, body, face, feet. Don't have the visibility of the rig. This is interesting. Don't remember doing that part before. Anyways. Yeah, like what's going on here? I'm inside of the character blueprint and I'm looking at ARKit setup for how it's working. I don't remember doing this before, so I don't understand what this is for. All I remember doing before was I was working in the animation blueprint, so this one over here. I don't know what that means. Actor meta, let's turn that off. Oh yeah, that one's that, and that one's that. These are control rig, control actor. Maybe it really is a control rig. MetaHuman control rig. Can we like filter that? That'd be really neat to see this, if this actually works. Control rigs. Oh, look at this! There they are. Medium. NRW procedural. Top shirt control rig. Base control board control rig. Base procedural. MetaHuman control rig. Okay, what are these? These are all control rigs. They're all the same type of asset. For some reason this one has a little thumbnail. I'm gonna click on that one. Let's see what happens here. Hey, there we go. Oh, I know what was really neat, and I don't understand it all yet still. Why are these hands? Like, what's the deal with these hands? Let's see here. So, let me show you what I'm talking about before I start trying to solve what's happening. In the animation, if I get rid of this control rig, although I kind of wish I remembered where that was, some of the animation sequences are just like hands and feet movement, which that part makes sense. You've motion captured basically the full, probably the full skeleton rig. Let me just double check. Yeah, so you have the full character body rig in there, but you're only just skinned the geometry for the hands and the feet so that you can swap out the hands and the feet to match the skin tone of the face and that kind of thing. That's a pretty normal process. So then we would have another animation with just the body mesh without the hands, so the clothing and stuff. But what's really neat is like, what's up with all these animations down here? Like, we've got what looks like blend shape targets inside of this mesh. Like this is weird. I've never seen any need to like bring in these rigging controls. I mean, maybe they're using it to help do the skinning. I don't know why you'd be doing the skinning here though. I don't know. Usually that's all done outside of it. But it totally is all the motions that you would do when you're painting weights on a mesh. And then they broke it down into like blend shapes, basically, from what I can tell. But so like I really feel like there's something going on here where they're working away at trying to figure out how to troubleshoot, like, I don't know, as a pipeline for skinning or a pipeline for clothing or something. I'm not sure what the point of making all these targets are for us. They're useful if you're trying to like work on something, but normally we never need to do that stuff inside of Unreal. Okay, let's go back to the control rig. Where was it? Where were these things anyways? They're inside of MetaHuman 01, female, medium, high, normal weight. Where? What? Can I just go to it? Browse to asset. Show in folder view. There we go. They go in body, normal weight. Here we go. Maybe I'll get some answers. So this is the body portion, I assume. And this is the new feature for control rigs inside of Unreal, so that you can actually animate inside of Unreal. And I don't know very much about it, because honestly it's so new that I really haven't had a chance to see anything that looks like it was ready to roll. But it's just another reason why MetaHuman is so interesting, because it's like, oh, you can do all your animation in Unreal. You don't actually have to ever leave the software. Not only are you getting photorealistic results, but you're also doing all your animation and all your work in here. And the formula for how they do these rigs is different than how you normally do a rig in Maya, because it's all basically setting up the rig every single frame of refresh. So we're hooking up all the twist joints. Oh look, they have twist joints and they're putting them together. That was something I was running into problems with when I first did my test. I wonder if it's because these twist joints are not part of a hierarchy or something. Or maybe they've added a feature that allows that support. I don't know. But yeah, as a rigger, I feel like this is very important to learn. Because I feel like if you are able to sell yourself as somebody who is able to rig in Unreal, then you will, maybe not today, but by the time you figure it out, you'll be a very valuable person. Because everybody will be like, what? You can actually make this work in Unreal? Or you can fix something that's in Unreal and make it work again? I think that's, it's kind of like when I was in 2014, I was learning like Unreal, and it was like still called Rocket. It wasn't even officially released yet. I had somebody I knew that was able to get me the internal version, and I was learning blueprints with no documentation, and I was learning like all this stuff, and I'm like, yeah, nobody wants this skill right now, but one day this will be useful. It took like 6 years. Well, that's not true. Technically it was useful before that, but it's a bit weird at first, because you're like, well, what do I really need to learn this? What does this mean? And it took a long time to learn, to be honest. So like, this will probably, you know, I'm not going to figure it out today, but we'll work our way towards it. It's kind of fun anyways. Let's see if we can find a more interesting one. Let's go for the face one. Let's go back to do the whole filter so I can get back to that one I was at before. This isn't even the face one. See, I don't understand anything that's I'm looking at right now. It's like we're looking at another body rig setup. So this has actually got the controllers as opposed to, I don't know, whatever the other one was, normal weighting or whatever it was. And we don't have the face in here, so they're keeping that one separate. Setup right leg mirrored. Setup left arm. Setup right arm mirrored. I'm also curious to see, it looks like it's currently FK on the upper arm, and it would be IK on the feet. So, I wonder if they have the ability to switch between IK, FK, and I wonder if that's something that we can test out, but maybe it's just not in this particular set here. And what else we got here? Face control. Here we go. I set up. Let's turn off the joints so I can see what's going on here. This is really neat because there's so many different ways to do facial setup, facial rigs, and like if you ever see some rigging videos of people, everybody's got their own interpretation of how to do a facial setup. So this is actually really cool because it probably, oh, it doesn't work. It probably really did a lot of R&D to kind of figure out what works and what doesn't, and I'm sure the people that are working on it are like pretty experienced in the industry, so they have their tricks and the techniques. So I bet you this is going to be pretty cool to kind of learn from and see what how they laid it out. At first it's always a bit rough and bumpy because you're like, well, I don't know how to do anything, but if you can kind of like get used to the flow and understand what exactly the thought process is, it gives you some good perspective of like what makes a good face rig. Unfortunately nothing works, so it doesn't really help me right now. Let's see if we can actually do a proper face rig. Last time I tried to do this, it didn't work out so well, and I have got it working before, but today, or last time I tried, it didn't work. So there's this animation control tab that lets you, opens up the ability to animate something in real time. I don't know if, let me just double check that we can actually do this or not. Yeah, like you have to really unlock the ability to be animating, and from my experience, you had to be in like a sequencer. So I made like a new sequence. Unless there's like multiple types of sequencers. What am I not doing right now? Oh, is it cinematics or something? Why can't I find what I'm looking for here? Level sequence. Not like another one, is there? No. Alright, so then we'll just go over here for a minute here. Put in another character that will be the one we're going to animate with. We'll see if we can get this going here. Blueprint MetaHuman 01. Try putting that one in. But I'm not sure. If it goes through a blueprint, it might actually oh, there's our control rigs. Maybe it'll work. Alright, where did this person go here? There. Oh yeah, we got some control rig in there. Man, this is a bit weird. When you go to unlit mode, it's like... Oh, never mind. Not looking weird anymore. When I went into unlit mode last time, it was like the face went all gray. And I'm like, this face isn't supposed to be gray. Why is it? It's just unlit mode. Alright, let's put some lights, I guess, in here. Not sure what kind of lights I'm going to be trying to do here. Whoa, we're way over there. Let's see if I can just touch any of these controls. Darn it. It would have been so handy right now if I could just interact with them right now. Back to animation. Oh, here we go. Now we're getting something in our animation thing here. It's recognized that I'm working on a sequencer with this MetaHuman, and it's picking up that it's got stuff here. And I still don't understand the flow after this. It's always like, what do I do to make it work again? I have to key everything. Maybe I'm supposed to like enable the ability to select these things. I don't know. I don't actually think that's one of the steps. See, you can definitely like control the value, but why can't I select it in the world? Or wait, is that selected? What else it would be? What are they waiting for me to do? Supposed to be in cinematic mode or something? Oh wait. I think we just took over a different camera. Let's give ourselves a new camera. That's the camera from the other sequence. Put a new camera in here. And we'll up over to our character. We'll do our focus realignment. I wish we could actually turn off motion blur altogether, or not motion blur, but depth of field here. Crank up our aperture. I don't think this is mattering, by the way. I can definitely pick these guys. That's pretty cool. So we're definitely, you know, we're not missing that part. I just can't navigate or change them in the environment. So, oh, is it possible that I'm? Maybe it's way more basic of a problem than I realized. Okay, hold on. I just want to switch it back to normal camera. Where was I here? Default perspective. If I pick one of these things, pivot is way down there. That's not good. Okay, so is it different if I put it in local mode or something? I can't switch it between local mode. What have I done? I've ruined it. Yeah, like what's the point of having an interface if you can't actually work with it? There's got to be a way to do that. Well, there you go. That's something I gotta put on my list of things I gotta learn. How do I interact with controllers using the rig to to a point where the pivot point isn't in the ridiculously offset origin of the world. And why can't I like switch my system to something that works? Allow cinematic control. Maybe that was what turned on. Let's try. No, I'm still in some sort of weird cinematic mode, and I'm not sure why or what I did. So we're gonna bail. Just too bad. We were so close to doing something cool. But anyway, you can kind of see where I'm going with this, and then hopefully we can get a point. I mean, obviously, if you can, eventually you get to a point where you're like, oh, I'm going to use the curve editor over here, and I'm going to change some values that lets me animate things. So you can work in like a traditional animation workflow where you have keys and points and timelines, and you're scrubbing and you're doing stuff. But it's just, the part I never really got was like, what is the deal with the pivot points up here? All right, so we'll move on. We'll move on to the next thing we have. It's after the first hour anyways, so we're ready to do it. So the next thing we're going to talk about is potentially even more boring than what I was stuck on a minute ago, which is a great way to sell the new topic here. So we're going to talk about how to integrate scripting editor in Python, or Python inside of the Unreal editor, and see if we can do anything with it. Like at this point, I'm pretty much like, hey, if we can do something, then that's a win. I read through this document, and it talks about all the different ways that Python can be integrated into Unreal, like in terms of how you execute it. Some of the really key features that I read about that were valuable to know. First of all, we're using 3.7 Python as opposed to 2.7, which is the one I'm familiar with. So the syntax is going to be a problem for me. The other thing is that none of this Python scripting will work in runtime. So just got a warning message saying that my video memory is maxing out. Oh, and then Unreal closed. So that was interesting. That was an interesting coincidence that worked out really in my favor. What was I trying to say? So the Python, what was I going to say? It was something really good. Like Python. Oh, it doesn't work in runtime. So when you're thinking about what you're going to do with Python, it has to be specifically just for like doing whatever blueprints can do, like, you know, preparing blueprints, moving stuff around. And what's really neat is they've actually exposed like everything that you can use in blueprints is exposed in Python. Even when you turn on plugins, they become exposed. So in theory, you should have free reign to like pretty much automate all of this blueprint creation stuff. There's really not much of a restriction. And it also says in the very top that there is lots of stuff available that you can get for free. Like there's people who have Python scripts that you should be able to get and work with. So I don't know how honest that is, and I don't know where to find them. That was something I wanted to do before the stream started, so I was hoping to kind of get myself in a kick-started position. So we're going to go back to our non-MetaHuman project, since that one just self-destructed, and we'll start seeing if we can create some blueprint nodes, which is sort of sounds a little dry, but what am I doing here? Anim? Oh no, not anim backgrounds. Or wait, no, anim backgrounds. Couldn't set association for project. Check that it's writable. That's weird. Why do I have to write to the project? Hold on. I gotta get Perforce running. Doesn't exist. What? But then you checked it out? Oh no, what's happening? My hard drive disappearing? Oh no, it is. Oh no. Don't know what's happening, but my hard drive is becoming unstable. This was something that has happened in the past, so I'm not that shocked. Alright, we're just gonna launch a new version of the editor. And my hard drive will come back. I think it's related to the heat or something. I'm not sure exactly what causes it to sort of disappear. It's just a throwaway hard drive anyways, but unfortunately it's got the project I need right now, so it's not very good. Because like literally everything's on Perforce, so I could in theory just sync it to another drive that works. Which maybe I'll have to do one day. We're gonna make a new empty project on a hard drive that's not failing. Blueprint project, maximum quality, ray tracing, starter content, no starter content. Yeah, no starter content. And we're not going to go to the E drive. That's the one that is not working apparently very well right now. We'll do my D drive. Definitely makes me hyper aware that I have to pick a fix for this, because it's definitely inconvenient right now. This is the Python test. Okay, so the first thing you do when you put the Python stuff in is you go to the plugins, and we're going to turn on a couple plugins, Python ones. And oh, look, it's already enabled. That's handy. So there's the Python editor script plugin, and then there is also another one which was in that document. Editor scripting utilities also needs to be turned on, so we're going to do that one as well. Oh, look, it already is. Look at that. They're both beta, but version 1.0. So I should be able to see, like, yeah, recent Python, execute Python scripts. Also in the output log, we have a pull down for Python, which is another way that you could do, like, it's basically like the testing console that you could, you can say print hello. Missing parentheses. Really? Has it been that long since I've used Python that I've forgotten you have to do this? Man, oh man. There we go. Hello! I've been doing a lot of scripting with JavaScript lately, so my syntax is going to be totally... Hence why I was hoping to find some test work that I could pull from first. Let's see, let's just do a little quick search here and find out if we can find anything. Unreal, UE4, Python, script. Let's just start with that. Scripting, editor, that's the one I've already looked at. So hopefully we can find some examples here. Blender render? Okay, we have to make sure we stay within Unreal. Now, I mean, in theory, you can run any kind of Python script inside of it. It doesn't have to be,
That's one of the reasons why I can churn stuff out, is because I don't have a problem or borrowing something.
This doesn't have to be specific to Unreal, it can be anything. But there is one of the things you can do, or one of the things you would want to do, is start with importing Unreal, which is like the command. Where does it say this? Import Unreal. And that way you have all of the access to, this is actually the really interesting part about how it has access to everything that is exposed to blueprints. You would have exposure to in Python. Now the problem is I don't know how to, like, how to call anything. Like, I want to make a specific thing. What's the formula? What's the idea? That's why I really want like something to work from, so that I can be like, okay, that's kind of where they're heading with this. I had the same problem when I was scripting Python in Motion Builder, where I was like, there's no documentation. How am I supposed to know what I'm doing? I actually told Autodesk, I'm like, can I have some documentation? And there was documentation. It's just I didn't understand how it worked. Like, it was based on a C++ written formula, so they have a certain structure of how they do C++, and I still don't even understand, like, classes, and you know, you got different embedding of assets that come from other object-oriented things and stuff. And it was smart and well done, but I just didn't understand where I was supposed to do to call something, and I'm probably going to run into the exact same problem here, but hopefully I'll be a little faster with it, because I'll kind of have a bit more prediction of where I'm supposed to head with it. Let's see what we've got. Attribute in directory materials, print attributes. Loop over all attributes for the object and print it. How did we get the attribute? We got a Unreal load asset, and then we called it from the content browser. New material dot new material. Really? Okay, so you can load an asset that way. One question that I'd like to know is, where would I be able to write something that I can work with? I guess I could I'm just gonna have to use my Notepad++ or something, and then just call that Python file. I mean, you could just test it inside of the consoles whenever I'm trying to do stuff, but in terms of a nice collection. Having trouble breaking this free. Oh my goodness. How do I make this into a different thing? Can we just drag it? Alright. Maybe I just want to open up Notepad. Darn it. I don't know what I'm doing wrong there. Let's save this as... Just want to open up a text file that I can bring over to the other monitor here. I'm going to make a new text file, save it, drag it over here. There we go. I had to save it. So let's call this. Let's steal this one. Pretty sure I have to load Unreal at this point, but we'll see. Don't seem to be doing anything. Output log through window developer tools output log. See if you can click the drop down, switch it. Okay, so maybe we're just supposed to be doing this. Extracting some assets, copy reference. I'm gonna load asset path to grab material, pasting the reference into the function and path of the asset. Click and copy reference. Wow, this is gonna get really dry. I'm really trying to be like doing this in an entertaining way, but I feel like we're gonna get to a point where I'm like, yeah, I'm just reading a document. Okay, I need a new material, so we're gonna make a new material. It's called new material. And print mat. There you go. Worked. I was able to call that new material because it was literally called new material. I'm going to rename it and see what happens. Let's print it again. Now it's called testmaterial.testmaterial. Except I didn't spell it right. Okay, so that's how you call something. Loop over all attributes for the object and print. Okay, let's do that. So I mean, the long-term picture, I know this is totally not relevant to what I really want to do. The the long-term picture, what we want to do is get to a state where we're making morphs out of an animation timeline. So lots of learning to do still before I get there. But I think we can just sort of get the basics and the elements figured out here. I think we can sort of, like, I really like covering some of this stuff in a very early stage so that we can see the learning process and that it's not magic. And then we move into, you know, trying to skip gaps of learning so it's not super boring to watch. And hopefully we'll be able to sort of review something that does actually function, maybe in a very small context, but review something that may actually make some objects in Blueprint. I mean, that's where I really want to get. If we can just sort of get inside of a Blueprint and then start making nodes inside of it, which this tutorial might actually do that for us. And then we can kind of store that as like, okay, that's how you make nodes. And then we go into, how can we look at an animation asset? How do we look at timelines? And then how do we use the timeline? So I really want to go every 5th frame along the timeline, go and save a pose. And we be able to make poses for all the timeline. But I also have to make those poses embed inside of an asset that has it also. I wonder if there's any Python scripts inside of that MetaHuman project. Should check. See, my hard drive's working again. I don't know where I'd find that kind of stuff. Oh, I guess I could just search for PY files. Nothing. That's too bad. If anybody has any idea of where I can find Unreal Python resources, feel free to throw that at me. I'll be happy to take it in and see what it is about. But either way, I think this little script here has been pretty useful so far. Usually, okay, so we did actually do a print of all the different materials and that all the attributes, and that did actually work out pretty well. Let me just double check what the attributes look like. So we got get full name, get name. So this kind of stuff is from a class, which is, you know, C++ based object-oriented things that I'm not, it's not usually how I write anything, so it's over my head. But we can call a lot of cool stuff here that might be useful for how we want to make changes, like rename. I wonder if you can like rename the material. And so you have to start breaking it down and figuring out, like, is there more layers inside of here that we can go that will have expand into a whole nother thing. It's very hard to visualize what kind of stuff you can actually work with. There must be, maybe there's like a document online that like lays all this out, and I just, as you know, since it's one-to-one with the C++, maybe I'm supposed to be searching more C++ based resources to figure out how this all works. Note that usually one of the Python pretty points, pretty print is sort of thing. Help material. Oh, okay. Well, let's try that since we just finished talking about it. Help material. Probably make this log a little bigger. Oh my goodness. What have I done? Materials and asset, applied, visual look at the scene, light, scene is surface. Wow, see? It's the C++ source code for materials. So there's, I mean, honestly, there's a nice perk to learning how to do this, because it'd be that much closer to understanding how to customize source code from the C++ project. I mean, I'm assuming that, but at the same time, it's probably where all these resources are already created for. There's everything, a little description about what each of those things do. Okay, that's pretty useful. Methods inherited. Get base material. Oh yeah, right. Get parameter. Physical material. Yeah, this is pretty useful. It's actually explaining each of those things we were looking at here. So, like, rename, where was that one that we were looking at before? There it is. Rename this instance. So we know that we're talking about the actual asset objects rather than some sort of obscure node that didn't make sense. Cool. What did I just type to do that again? Help. I'm going to copy that directly from the web page. Oh, wait, I thought I had a little comment. Alright, help, Matt. Keep wanting to put semicolons at the end of all my lines because I'm so stuck in JavaScript world. Which actually is the same syntax that you have to do for MelScript as well. Making changes to the asset. Print, is this material two-sided? Oh yeah, two-sided materials. Material get editor property. So now we're jumping in to the object. So we're starting with material. Or no, I guess that's just one of the commands within there. Print, is the material two-sided now? Oh, okay, we're setting set editor property two-sided. Okay, so like that's probably a big one for how you can modify a whole bunch of different properties if you just knew what the name was. We'll make sure we save those ones. So we're getting the property, and then that one's the setting the property, which is the print is just part of it because it'll return a value. Real edit asset. Real editor asset library save asset path. Okay, so this just saves it. What the path? Where are you getting the path from? You'll notice this will make changes but will not save the asset. Just marking it dirty. To also save the asset, we can use this. And somehow path is in the name here. I'm probably going to need that one later on. I should actually mention that this is a material. Setting material property. So yeah, material editor and the regular blueprints are slightly different from each other, so I don't know if that's going to be, it's probably going to be different syntax to actually work in a blueprint. But maybe not. Because the function expects the path, get path name, materials you pass it. Oh, I see. We're just going to use this function from the material to be the path. Rather than use Or we could, you know, technically store that as a variable and then use that as a variable, but is that a spelling mistake? Save directory game. Also save directory function. Save all the dirty assets within a folder. Wow. Or within the project. Jeez, that's pretty good. Better fix that spelling mistake though. Saving all assets in project. Wait, I didn't actually copy it. Unreal. Adding your own scripts. Now you probably want to put together some more complex scripts and run them directly. Oh, there are a couple of folders. UV folder will look for scripts. Most notably, it'll look for Python folder inside of all engine. Jeez, I wonder if that's where you can find some free scripts. Python folder inside all engine projects. All engine project plugin content folders. So that's on the installation folder side, I assume, not your actual working project. Put a Python file in there. You'll be able to import it into the editor or in other scripts. That's weird. Oh, like just by typing import, you can bring it in, rather than like actually physically importing it from the file menu. Add Python folder inside your project. Oh, if you add a... Oh, you have to restart the editor. You add a folder inside your project content folder, and in there create a file called mymodule.py and restart the editor. You'll now be able to edit this file in your IDE, basically your script editing tool of choice, like Visual Studio or something. Oh yeah, Visual Studio. And I'm gonna add a function definition and output some log strings. I'm gonna add a function definition, output some log strings. A debate on whether I'm going to follow this or not. It's kind of cool. Here's my module. So you just can grab and import it whenever you want because it's part of your project inside of this folder. What was the folder called? Add a Python folder inside your project's content folder. Alright, let's just do that for fun because that might be nice to practice that. So I have this temp project here, Python test. There's this new file is the one I'm working on right now over here. And then we got, so it's actually told me to go into the content folder. So this is where I create a new folder. For just, if it's just so that it's only callable within this project, as opposed to if you put it in the installation folder, then it's callable for anybody, any project. Note the editor will only look for files if the Python folder exists and will register that folder if it exists at launch, editor launch. So if it's the first time you added a script, sorry, I read that again. Add a Python folder inside your project's content folder, and like, I'm just assuming you got to name it Python. Well, and in there create a file called mymodule.py. So in theory, no, I call this a text file. It's supposed to be a py file. Maybe we'll make a new one. So we'll make a new one in my Notepad++ choice of, what is it called? Oh, I forget it. IDE. It's my IDE of choice. So in here, Python. I'm gonna call this my module.py for Python. that what we're doing? I didn't spell module right. Alright, save. We're just gonna throw this stuff in there. See if I can import it. Oh wait, hold on. Is that what I want? Yeah, that's what I want to do. So hey, look at that. Recognize it as Python now because I actually saved it as a PY file. With Python, you have to be careful about your tabbing. That is the one thing with Python. You don't have to do brackets, but you got to be really careful about how you do your tabbing. Make sure that each tab is referred to, that it's inside of that function. Import my module dot my function. I see, I'm not actually supposed to put that in there. Alright, let's try this out. Although I think I have to restart my editor, but I'm pretty sure I have to restart my editor. Right. Let's do it. We'll close that one, and then we'll go back and open it back up again. I think once the file is there, I can hopefully change it and save it, and then just, I don't know, I'm not sure what the refresh process will be when you actually start getting these pieces in there. So let's try that again. Import my module, which is, I'm pretty sure I named it correctly. And it says my module function Python. This is an Unreal log. Oh, wait, what? This is an Unreal error. Oh, yeah, that's actually what it's doing here. Unreal log, Unreal error. Oh, that's good to know. So that's how you do log reports, as opposed to just a simple print statement. And it turns into it red when you log it correctly. Pretty handy to know about. Definitely something I want to probably hold on to here. Logging. Okay, let's go back to the webpage. It's been pretty helpful so far. However, if you run the import a bit above again, it won't display the warning. It'll run the same script as before, this because it already considered imported, and Python won't import it again unless it's explicitly told to using the build reload. See, that's really important to know because it just changed the whole point about how you're going to deal with it when it's cached or not. Like if you make a change to the notepad file, how are you going to get those changes to be reflected? So note that the Python versions 3.4, you'll need to use reload from the import library module instead. So we got to import another library or something. Yeah, that's right. This would be the case with the newest Unreal versions. So if you ran this again, we'll see our warning added. Wait, Python greater or equal to 3.4? I'm pretty sure we're in 3.7 was what I read. Greater than that, you'll need to use reload from the import module. So realistically, this is how I do it, and I can't use that anymore. So we're basically, the difference is we're just grabbing it from the import library. And let's jump back to Unreal for a sec here. There we go, so it kicked in again. So really, I wonder if instead of saying, well, I guess you wouldn't want to reload right away. Darn. Complicated. Better save this though. Very useful. Gotta think of how the formula would work here. It'd be like two scripts then? One where you have the functions and then another one where you're like, call this to reload that one that changed or something. I don't know. What are we talking about? Reloading scripts. All right, let's see what else we can learn about. Running scripts on the editor startup. The editor will look for a specific Python named initiate unreal.py. Oh yeah, that's pretty normal. And if this is present, then any of the Python folders, it will run that script during editor initialization. Okay, so any of the files within that folder that this exists. Is that how that works? During initiation, you also have more options when it comes to interacting with the overriding classes, which I'll get into more later in tutorials. Autocomplete Visual Studio Code. One thing with Unreal Module being transient. Annoying is the lack of autocomplete in IDEs. There's a workaround for this in the project settings. Plug in this Python. You can enable developer mode. Is this in Visual Studio? Probably. But let's just double check. Unreal will now generate a Python file in Unreal named unreal.py in the project's intermediate Python stub. This will represent the current state of the Unreal module for specific projects, with only class and functions declaration and no definitions. Okay, I don't know what that means. In Visual Studio Code, you will now be able to point to the folder of this file when setting called Python autocomplete extra path. Okay, I don't think that's super important right now. Importing assets. The way one imports assets might feel a bit convoluted at first, but it's a very strong system. Give you access to same options as UI. Revolves around creating tasks, which are just classes with import option properties to them. 2 Unreal classes of importance are importing meshes. Interesting. Unreal asset import task and FBX import UI. That is, if you are importing FBX. It's kind of cool. Hey Riz. Hey, people are here. How you doing, Riz? I'm doing some really boring stuff over here. Been very quiet on the chat boards. Everybody's left. They're like, this is way too dry. It's actually really interesting for me. I don't know if anyone else is finding this interesting, but for me, I'm like, this is awesome. This is gonna get so good pretty soon, but it's gonna be really boring for everybody to watch. Hey, we're still gonna have somebody here. Excellent. Sola! Still trying to figure out what you're doing. Oh, boo! Welcome. That's good. And are you the one that will be showing up into Q&A in about 10 minutes? 15 minutes or so? Or have I got a different person? Yes, there we go. Excellent. Thanks for coming in and joining me. Riz says, I'm working on an animation of a garage door opening and closing. Hey, that's pretty cool. Is that one of those ones that fold and you've got like it like increments? You get like little pieces that will rotate? Or does it like open differently? It could be kind of fun. Yeah, what I'm doing right now is very much 101 of how to do Python scripting in Unreal 4. And the reason why it's interesting isn't so much that anyone really needs to. You can use in a very complicated scenario to customize and automate things for yourself, which in this case I actually need to make one because I've got a bunch of facial targets and I want to turn them into a complex setup that we can use the LiveLink AR stuff. So I have a good reason why I want to use it. This is finally I have an excuse to learn what the heck's going on here. And working with Python in this form is really easy entrance, like for an artist to get into. So it does seem a little strange to be talking about it in this particular stream, but it's totally relevant and it's totally cool. You learn a little bit about Python, and you can use this in all kinds of stuff. Like Maya has Python. Almost every software integration has some sort of Python support. So it's the same language, it's the same formula. And you know, from personal experience, as I jump from software to software, I'm like, oh yeah, so this is probably going to be the same thing. I just have to figure out how they did it. But then generally speaking, I'm going to be able to pick this up pretty quick. Boo says, I tuned in because I want to learn as much as I can. Sounds really cool. At ReStreamBot. Riz says, yes, it's a folding car garage door. Nice. Sounds good. George says, very interesting, but I'm going to understand it better when I learn more of Unreal. Thanks for the video, man. Yeah. Yeah, you can just put this in your pocket of like things I'm gonna get to one day. Boo says, does Unreal use Python? Yeah, so this is Unreal using Python. I mean, this is no fancy, you know, third-party connection. This is Unreal's support for Python internally that allows you to build kind of cool things using their interface. And it's a lot easier to learn Python than it is C++. Oh, and then you ask, what about C++ and C#? I don't know if it's the same thing. So C++ is very like raw form of programming, and Unreal is built on C++ from the foundation, and all that source code that they've done is fully accessible by everybody. You can totally access it, download it, open up Visual Studio, and connect to it and look at all the code and research it and have your mind explode as you realize how much freaking code is required. Like, that's what happened to me anyways, I don't know. And then you have C#, and C# is another good programming language that's a little bit more simplified and very much controlled, so that your environment that you're programming in is very much done in a certain order to make sure that you're doing it in a way that's optimal. And I don't know very much about C#, but I do know that if you're using Unity, then that's how they allow people to control Unity, is through C# scripting language. So C# is a really valid and cool language to learn. I just haven't had a reason to learn it. That's the only reason why I haven't really done anything with it. And then the last question is, also the cat is adorable. This is snowing. It's a fox, actually, and he is adorable. I didn't actually make the fox in terms of modeling it, but I did animate it and rig it so that it could do that. And it is non-stop snowing. Even outside today, I went skating with my kids in a what used to be a big mud puddle. So it's like, now it's a nice skating rink. And so we went and did a little bit of skating while it's still nice and frigid outside. I think we're going to be in sub-zero temperatures for another good week or so before it starts to warm up. So the outdoor, my window out here is quite accurate to my actual real window outside. Aside from the fact that it is now dark outside. There you go, a little update. I also one day have to get rid of the fact that I have Christmas lights still on my backdrop. It's actually hanging on my conscience that I'm like, gotta get some new content changed before it gets too ridiculously far away from Christmas. Riz says, where am I? I am just southwest of Toronto, Canada. About 3 hours from there. George says, do you consider it's more oriented for AAA enterprises or indie game designers? Oh, you're really trying to figure out how to say that. Do you consider it more orients for AAA enterprises or indie game designers? Man, that sounds like a good question. I just don't quite know how to interpret it. Oriented? Is it more important to orient your focus of how you want to be a game designer to be more into AAA industry or indie industry? That's okay. I think if that's the right question. then as a game designer, I would say because it's really tough to get a job as a game designer. It's notoriously a challenging industry, and that's just because you need to prove that you are very knowledgeable in game design. So my opinion is you really need to have as much practice doing game development as you can, which means making as many games as you can, which is super hard to do. It's catch-22 because you got to have people working with you to make a game. So it's very difficult to prove yourself in that sense. So usually, and I personally, my opinion on that is it's really good to have like a game that actually works, like, and proves that it's fun, and it requires a lot of careful thinking and planning, and you know, unfortunately it also means a lot of learning to be development on a lot of fronts. But if you can show, I mean, if I was a game company going, should I hire you as a game designer, I'd want to know that you have evidence that you can understand what makes games fun. And actually, you know what, hold on, to be honest, from my experience, game designers, junior game designers, usually just are implementers. So there's a whole nother argument there where you're just like, I'm the guy that's going to wire this together inside the blueprints that matches the game design that the game designer directors have set up. So having a lot of, you know, understanding of blueprint wiring and stuff is also, I think, a really important aspect. And that does come very closely aligned with programming, but it also comes really close with good management skills and understanding, like, you know, how to keep all the functionality of the changes and the gameplay making sense, and that it's still actively accurate to what you're doing, to what your feedback is, and communication. So that's why usually you get like people who are game testers to end up being game designers, because they are already almost doing that job where they're taking feedback and they're assessing it and discovering whether the game is broken or not, and documenting it and sending it back. So a junior game designer is kind of doing the same thing, but they're actually at the production end and actually making the changes and adjustments. That's from my experience. But I think you know, getting experience is one way or another is critical. Riz says, "Oh, cool! My aunt lives near Toronto." Oh, that's fun. Yeah, Toronto is. I'm totally biased, so it's not fair that I'm going to say Toronto's awesome, but I do kind of like this climate because it's got cold winters where you can go skating. It's got nice summers you can go swimming. It's kind of a nice balance, but you do have to get through March, which is the worst month of the year. It's like the March and April are like struggle. Riz says, what makes games fun is not being able to get past the second level on Super Mario Brothers. That's what makes it fun? You like the challenging games, eh? That's funny. George says, you got this. Wait a minute, you got this. What is that from something that I should know about? Maybe, I'm not sure. It may have gone over my head. Alright, well, I'm down to the last few minutes here. If you guys have any other questions, feel free to throw them my way. I'm definitely happy to chat. I just keeping busy. And then build mesh import task. So let's see here. What are we doing here? We got this is for importing a mesh. There you go. That's kind of a handy little script then to tell you how to import meshes. Sets a lot of properties for the FBX options of how you want to import it. So you could batch import it. I bet you this is exactly what you're going to use in the NXT tools, which is something we talked about last week, and something I was actually thinking about addressing today was, except for I never did figure out how to put code in the NXT. It was something I never got to. But NXT is a plugin that goes in Maya, and it goes in Blender and other softwares as well. But something we talked about last week was how we can integrate NXT into our pipeline, what we're trying to do right here. And I definitely think we're going to get there. And they also use Python, so everything I'm doing right now and everything I'm learning about is going to be very relevant for that pipeline, because I'm also going to be having to build these. I'm going to have to put these functions and scripts into this NXT string and get it to do things. So like that script that I just found there for importing, I should probably save it too. Importing assets, maybe I'll just put it in here. Importing FBX static mesh. It could actually be really handy one day. I didn't actually copy it properly. Where was I? Copy. Probably want to organize this a little better, but whatever. Because this is going to just get into a big jumble of things that all look the same. So, I don't know, it's kind of cool. Let me just try to show you NXT before we wrap up. One more time, since we talked about it last time. Here it is, NXT. That's a plugin that you can import. It's all free, open source. You don't have to pay any money for it. And it has this very interesting integration for pipelines that I'm very curious to learn about and understand how to do. It's very new software that isn't fully finished and doesn't have the ability to integrate into Unreal. Well, maybe it does now, but last week it didn't. And this is where you put your Python code, which I'm still trying to figure out how the heck you do that. I clearly clearly didn't do anything since last week. But I don't know. There's a way to do it. I just don't know what it is. Anyway, so that's what I'm still trying to solve. But technically, this node-based software is able to not only make adjustments and changes in Maya, but also send it over to Unreal and make adjustments and changes in Unreal. So it's very cool. Could be very, very useful, but I don't know much about it. All right, guys, it's now 9 o'clock, top of the hour for me, anyways. And so I'll wrap it up there. If you guys have anything that you want to ask or do next week, feel free to throw that out there, and we can definitely, pivot from where we're going if we wanted to during our streams. But otherwise, I'll just keep going with what I'm trying to do here and hopefully make some progress and get something done. All right, guys, I'll leave it there, and I'll see you again next week. Take care, everybody.